Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As always, I am your host, Mike Hernandez. Today we're going to be taking a look at my 2019 Jeep Wrangler Sport S. It has the 2.0 turbo in it, the 4-banger. Relatively new to the market, something new that Jeep is trying. But it did get a list, very small, of upgrades and add-ons and accessories. So I also wanted to go over that with you today. I just went over 25,000 miles. It's got 26 and some change as of the recording of this video. So without further delay, let's get started. Foremost, guys, let's talk tires. So as you all know, Falken Tire is a sponsor of this page and one of my business partners, and they did provide me with what you're going to see here and what we're going to talk about. I get asked a lot on my social media sources as well as in courses and whatnot, should I run a 38, should I run a 37, should I run a 40? And I don't really have an answer to that question until you are able to answer what you specifically want to do with your vehicle. There isn't this blanket statement that I can say, oh man, you know what, you gotta run 37s, it's the perfect tire size, you can crawl, you can overlay. See, that just doesn't work. You have to be very specific and upfront with yourself first in order to determine how you want this vehicle basically to run, right? I mean, when you're looking at this thing and you decide, hey man, I'm gonna put 40s, you know, maybe the axles aren't gonna be able to support that. Or maybe I don't have enough lift, or you know, R40 is good for sustainability, or you know, overlanding or expedition style travel. All those questions you're gonna have to determine first with tire size. Now, with all that being said, this one right now you can see I have the factory little baby tires up front. We upgraded to a 35 1250 R17. These are the AT3Ws from Falken Tire. You guys saw these on 37, 1250, R17s on the Gladiator first, and now we're gonna run a little bit smaller, 35, on this particular setup, and there's many, many reasons why. So when I started planning this setup, one, it's for my wife, okay? Two, she's very active in the community and drives constantly. We haven't had this a year yet, and it's got 26,000 miles. She's probably gonna get upwards of 30,000 before we do finally hit that year mark with this vehicle. That comes into play with my decision. So as I'm looking at this and I'm saying, you know what, it's primarily a daily driver. It'll see the dirt maybe 5% of the time, maybe 10% of the time if, you know, I'm being optimistic. So because of that, I figured, you know what, she doesn't need a big knobby tire like a mud terrain. An all-terrain is probably gonna be the direction we should go. 35s, there's not a lot I have to do to this vehicle in order for it to run reliably, accept it, and then diminish the MPG. So like I said, the Falken 35 is the right pick for me. The factory axles can manage it. I don't have to upgrade basically too much in order to get me to run this. And I still have enough clearance, one, to still fulfill the need for like a preparedness vehicle, a daily driver, our family wagon, and then of course my wife's vehicle when she's out in the field. So you'll see here, you'll notice I did the Rubicon wheels, they're takeoffs. Side note, I also did the Rubicon rock sliders, the little takeoffs. And the reason I went that route is one, it gave me a real factory clean look. And that's also what I was looking to do on this specific vehicle. One of the things that I really like about the AT3Ws is the fact that they don't make a lot of sound. So if that's something that you're worried about, or you're gonna be spending a lot of road miles and you don't like that humming, you know, these JLs don't do a lot in the way of sound deadening in these plastic tops, fiberglass tops. So if that's going to be something that you're concerned with, all-terrain is probably going to be a better way to go because the mud terrains do tend to make a lot of noise. I've had a lot of miles on this AT3W on my other truck, as well as the mud terrains on my JK and also now the Gladiator. These things are phenomenal. These are quickly becoming a favorite in the Hernandez garage. Okay. So I made the decision to do 35s. Next, suspension. I need to address a couple things. I have seen some people with the Rubicon variant just throw 35s on them and then not really have to worry about anything there. I wanted to do just a little bit extra, but I also wanted to do a budget option or a budget-friendly option, and I found that in the American Expedition Vehicles 2-inch spacer kit. I purchased this, but what I like about it, not only is because it's a budget-friendly option, but it just gives you everything you need. It's super easy. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. You can do it in your garage with just normal tools. And it also comes with the ProCal Snap, which allows you to program the shift points, adjust for the 35 so your speedometer and everything else works. Great option. Honestly, it was super easy and I'm really glad I went that direction. Got my cell phone in my hand. I'll put this video on there. It is the measurements of the Wrangler before I lifted it and put 35s on it. So let's go around and see what I have going for me now that we got some space. So what I did is I did it right in the center and right around the bottom of the fender, and I'm looking at just eyeballing it 39, about 39 and a quarter. Let's just call it 39 inches from the center. Let's go to the back here. This one is looking about 40 and a half. Yeah, 40 and a half. Let me check the middle just in case, because I think I have a video in there too with the middle. So let's do it right at the bottom of the center rock slider, and it's about 19 and a half inches. So I did get a little bit of an increase in performance or breakover angle. We definitely got an increase in tire size and getting that, you know, center line of the axle a little higher. I didn't take those measurements because most of the time people just want to see how it looks. So that's the difference of the 2-inch lift all the way around the JL. So the good part about that option is if you're already satisfied with the way the suspension feels and moves, it's not going to change any of that. It'll leave that all the same, and you get to reuse everything that you already have. We chose to go that direction because that's just the style of this build, right? I wanted something a little more low-key. It's not going to be this big crawling monster, although 35s will get you in and out of mostly anywhere you need to go. Is it a rock crawler? No. But is it capable? Absolutely. So with that being said, let's get started on what else I have. The next option I had to go with was a spacer. Now, these are highly debated online, and my take on them is that they're fine. Service them, check them when you're rotating your tires. You should be rotating your tires every oil change anyways, guys, especially when you're making the expense in 35s, 37s, and up to 40s or whatever you're doing. They should be getting rotated as many times as you change oil. You are changing your oil, right? So with that being said, I added these to give me a little bit of a wider stance, but also to give me the offset that I needed in order to run a bigger wheel and tire. I also like the way they look, okay? So it did give me the added space that I needed in order to put these in and use them without rubbing. What I do like about these is they are hub-centric. What does that mean? There's a little space in the center that will designate where the wheel goes. That way there's no looseness or playing or movement. You do use the Loctite when you're in there. And then like I said, every time you're in there rotating the tires, just give them a quick zip with a torque wrench, make sure that everything is tight. You should be doing that on a regular basis for maintenance anyways, and you will have no problems. Especially with a product like this, these are the Spider Track Off-Road. They're wheel adapters. It's the same bolt pattern that we have on there because I did want to run the factory Rubicons on it to give it that look. These were a great option, and I would recommend them if you're gonna go this route. All right, now that we got wheels, tires, spacers, and suspension out of the way, let's take a look at the inside and see how I have this thing outfitted for my wife in her daily use. So in her driver's seat, you can see she's got access to the same 67 design mounting system that I have. The difference for her though is she has a rail across the top, and it does have 2 spots right now, but you can add as many as you want. It'll fit alongside the rail. So right now she has that and an extra spot that sometimes when we take trips or what have you, I can roll in my iPad and it'll just dock right into the same one. Mine has them just 2 on each side. It's a little bit less expensive, and I went with this just because we didn't know how we wanted to set up. So just a little bit different options, but ultimately it facilitates the same role. So here we are, guys. We have the new Dometic CFX 35. What's really cool about this thing is that it gives us the option for ice cream, for water, but what Jeannie uses it for mostly is when she's doing her in-home visits and working in the community. Sometimes she has to do food bank deliveries and drop-offs, and what that means is she'll go to the food bank, get whatever she needs there, and takes it to the family that's in need. This Dometic will give her the option to have food that is perishable in a refrigerator while she's en route. So shout out to Dometic for supplying us with this CFX 35, guys. I really appreciate it. This thing gets used all the time and we love it. Fits perfectly in the back too. Gives her just a little bit more room to carry supplies. So Jeannie's also rocking a Fieldcraft Survival Go Light bag in the rear. Currently she has the multicam variant, but I do have a multicam black one there just to give it more of a sleeker look that I'm gonna replace. But she has her stuff for her in-home visits. You know, she does a lot of that, like I said, with the Dometic fridge. And this just gives her options to tear away stuff that she may need, blood pressure cuffs and what have you for visits. Her stethoscope is there, and it's a really great option. It also has first aid kit in the event of an emergency, but also her equipment to work. All right, to close things up, let's talk about my opinion and a review of this thing. After about roughly, 25,000 miles, it's got 26,000 and some change, and almost a year of use on this thing. Well, right off the bat, this thing did exactly what it said it was going to do from the factory. The 20 mpg that this thing typically got was consistently proven. One of the things that I did notice, and this is kind of common even with my Gladiator in Arizona, we do have extreme temperatures. It just hit 118 degrees, which was a record here the other day, and it does affect your MPG. Each car is different. This one we saw a loss of about 2 to 3 MPG, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just so dang high. I can imagine, this thing having a little turbo in there. It's just doing its best to do what it can, especially being so low as a 2-liter. But when it's colder, we do see typically 20 to 24 in factory form. Now, I've only had this thing lifted for about a week, and we did see a reduction of about 2 mpg. So right now, on average, it is getting 18, which is still really good when you think about the fact that it's running 35s, and it's a Wrangler that can go anywhere. Unless you're talking about the new diesel, Jeep has never gotten anywhere remotely close to 18, 20, 24 mpg. Now, the new diesel Wrangler is something that, I'm hoping we can do in the future. Maybe after we're done with this one. But in terms of review, this thing has just done exactly what we purchased it to do. It seats 5, it will soon seat 8. I do have a custom third row, like my JK that you guys have seen in the past, way in the past, that I am going to be installing this. One of the main reasons why we are drawn to the 4-door Wranglers is because we are a family. And like I said, in the past 12 years, I've had 7 little boys that I've worked with through the behavioral health system in foster care. Honestly, man, I couldn't drive a minivan. Like, I just couldn't do it. Now, maybe like a Sprinter or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, this thing really has done what it has advertised itself to do, what we wanted it to do, and now we're giving it just a little bit more capability with what it has. I am very pleased. I will give it 2 thumbs up. If you guys are looking at the 2.0 turbo 4-cylinder and kind of being a little more, on the mindset of I need to get as much MPG as I can. Right now, this is the second Wrangler in the lineup, or the second best Wrangler in the lineup to do that. I believe the Eco Diesel is somewhere around 25 and 30. I think the official numbers are 25, but some people have been getting 30 MPG on that. Man, I have something in my eye. But like I said, it seats all of us very comfortably. It carries everything we need. My wife is very active in the community. So you guys saw, it does have a fridge in the back. It's got medical supplies. It's got recovery gear. It's got a command station. The top comes off. The doors come off. The windshield folds down. It's great gas mileage. And I think it looks really good. I wanted it to be a little more, I don't know, maybe executive style, or maybe, a little bit more factory. One of the things I will say though is, good Lord, Jeep, this is the way it should have come from the factory. Like, you guys charge a lot of money for these things. I know you think very highly of your Wrangler and your Gladiator products. I have been very critical of the price points in my prior videos. If you guys saw that, me and Mikey went in and shot a review of the Gladiator when it first came out. And that's my biggest gripe with you guys, is that, you guys Jeep, is that these things are so expensive. Now, obviously, I am paying good money to drive these, and it isn't that much of a problem where I'm not gonna own them. But especially with the new addition to the market of the Bronco that has the factory options to run 35s, I'm going to be very, very curious. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how Jeep is going to answer having a little bit of competition now back in the market like they used to have when they first started. So 35s, and at this height, man, I really feel like it should have come like this, because what I would have done is just bought it, put some stuff in it in terms of accessories, and call it good. We're gonna see what happens in the future. Again, rave reviews, in this trim level, we opted to not have, the lockers, which is fine. We opted to not do the sway bar disconnects and all the stuff that you get with the Rubicon with the lower transfer case, because like I keep saying, our intention was for this thing to be, a daily driver with some off-road. I think the vast majority of people will do fine in this current setup. When I did talk with the sales guys at Jeep, they did say the Sport has always been as far as the Wrangler trim, the most selling trim level in the world. And I can understand why. This is my second sport. My first one was a JK. And when I first got into it, when I was testing the waters, leaving my Toyota Tacoma behind, I had said, you know what, I don't want to spend Rubicon money, so let's get into a sport and see, you know, how it goes. This thing, like I said, is phenomenal. I plan on keeping it maybe another year. Don't quote me on that. Things change a lot here in our household. Some of you know we do have a new addition on the way, and Homegirl should be here beginning of December and in November, and that is going to put us into a level of testing for this, because with our 3 that we already have now and our 4th on the way, the 3rd row did do fine. I'm not so sure if that's how we're going to keep it, but we're definitely going to give it a good try, like in the past when I had, you know, I think at one point I had 3 boys, 3 foster sons, and then my daughter was a little baby. So along the lines, it worked fine with the JK. We're just going to see if we're comfortable there. Maybe we'll upgrade to the diesel if it can prove itself. Other than that, you know, I'm very pleased with this. We've had no issues in terms of maintenance or performance. It did have an open recall for the steering stabilizer. Jeep. Not sure why they think that's the way to go. There was some issues. We never experienced any of the wobble or steering wheel issues. One of the things too, when I put the bigger wheels and tires, I was watching that closely. None of that, you know, it's still fine, but for whatever reason, the open recall was for a bigger steering stabilizer. Jeep, I don't know what you're doing. But they did do that. As far as that's concerned, it hasn't had any other issues. The center console has that little clip on your fingers when you actuate it to open it. For whatever reason, that broke. I guess that's a known issue too. Totally covered by the warranty after the last year. Replace it, no harm, no foul. I am real curious to see how the turbo will last long term, but at the same time, I don't think that we're going to have this vehicle that long, or well, you never know. So as of right now, it's a great addition to the family. It's a great addition to, you know, having the Gladiator. It fits all of the criteria that I needed, which was a vehicle for preparedness, 4-wheel drive, overlanding, expedition. I can accomplish all those things you guys saw. Depending on how I want to run it, we can move in and out. Accessories, extend our range with like solar panels that we do have for it, but also just have fun with the family. So again, guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We do have a lot more planned on this. Actually, I still have some sponsors that are going to step in and add things like lighting, more recovery, stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. Hit that like, subscribe, tell your friends. Thank you for your support. We just got over a couple thousand here on the page, and I couldn't be more pleased. Again, share this. For whatever reason, when I'm looking at this thing, I got about 90% views of non-followers, and I think it's just because this is a pretty popular topic. But if you could do me that favor to support us, subscribe, like, and that thumbs up really helps us out in terms of what we're doing on this page. Thanks again, guys. I know my closings are long. I appreciate everything, and I'll catch you on the next one.